Hi, everyone. For the final PowerPoint on the New Deal, I just want to make some summary points about it to go along with what I've laid out in terms of these major categories of recovery, relief, and reform. So, some of these things I have to say are a little bit different than how Eric Foner frames it in his conclusion. Some are similar. The New Deal did not end the Depression. The scope and scale of the Depression was simply too vast for even an array of government programs of this sort to bring it to a halt. During the 1930s, there was a lot of argument within the Roosevelt administration, outside the Roosevelt administration, and among economists about what exactly the federal government should do. Roosevelt chose a different path that I've laid out from that of Hoover, but there were still people arguing that the best thing to do was for the federal government to maintain a balanced budget. Roosevelt didn't engage in massive deficit spending. He kind of veered back and forth. There were times where he did deficit spending, other times where he went back to the balanced budget. But that was a big part of the argument that went on at the time. The irony of that is that what really ended the Depression was the massive government spending that started after the United States entered the Second World War, and that stimulated other segments of the economy. I do think, as I laid out here, that the New Deal brought a tremendous amount of hope to millions of Americans. And for Roosevelt's supporters, there was a sense that even if these programs were not all successful, which they were not, and I've laid that out in the previous PowerPoint, some had mixed results, some were failures, there was an idea that you had a president in the White House who cared about what was happening and was trying to do something about it. I think it's very interesting that the New Deal had the strong environmental component through programs like the Civilian Conservation Corps and this amazing commitment to the arts in the midst of the Depression as an important part of the New Deal's legacy. So, as I said, the New Deal also ended the belief that the federal government didn't have any role or responsibility providing for the welfare of the average American. And as I mentioned earlier, this is an ongoing argument in politics today. Most people accept the idea that the federal government does have some sort of role. What that role should be exactly, how extensive it should be, those are things that we still argue about. So the New Deal had tremendous benefits. It had some spectacular failures, didn't end the Great Depression, but did provide a renewed sense of hope for millions of Americans at a time when that was extremely important and desperately needed.